All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to get into talking about the New York Jets and their loss to the Denver Broncos. And it was an interesting game. It's really how I could put it. And, the Broncos, they were coming off of that convincing win against the Buccaneers. They went into Tampa and they won 26-7. And, with this game here, it was lower scoring. Both offenses struggled. The weather was bad. But the Broncos did just enough. They did a little bit more to pull past the Jets. But yeah, this was a slugfest. Both offenses struggled. I mean, Bo Nix had like negative 60 passing yards or something like that. I mean, he finished with 60 passing yards on the day, but it just was not good. Aaron Rodgers did not have a good first half. I think he had like 25 passing yards at the end of the first half. It was something ridiculous like that, but yeah, it just was not a good game. The Jets got the ball to start the game. I mean, they went 3-and-out quickly, but Garrett Wilson fumbles, and you thought, oh boy. But the Jets defense was able to, keep the Broncos out of field goal range. Well, first of all, there was a penalty, offensive pass interference, so that put them back to the Jets 40. Then there was another bad play, Bo Nix to Troy Franklin for -4 yards. So it's just the Broncos did nothing on that drive. There were a lot of punts in the first quarter, a lot of 3-and-outs. Then the Broncos ended up fumbling. Tyler Beatty, who actually, a scary situation on the sideline, so he got put on a stretcher. Not sure what happened there, but got hit, went to the sideline, and then he was getting put on a stretcher, so hopefully everything's all right there. But that's, scary situation there. And the Jets ended up turning that fumble into a field goal drive, so Greg Zuerlein from 23 yards out. From the Broncos' 5-yard line. So they were at the Broncos' 1-yard line. And first and goal from the 1, Breece Hall can't get in. Breece Hall, second and goal, can't get in. Then Rodgers tries to throw it on third down. They get nothing. Then they were going to go for it on fourth and goal, and then John Simpson, their center, gets called for a false start, and they have to kick a field goal. So that was bad. The Jets should have got 7 there. Or put Braylon Allen in. That's one thing that Jet fans were talking about is, why is Braylon Allen not in the game? Because Braylon Allen, their rookie, he's been doing well. So you could have gave him a shot, but they didn't. And they settled for 3. More punts. Jets were up 6-0 going into the second half. 9 plays, 56 yards, minute and 47 of time of possession. Rodgers connected with Lazard for 25 yards. Then there was a 21-yard pass play to Mike Williams that got reviewed. It was originally incomplete, but they ruled it complete. But, yeah, Greg Zuerlein, 35-yard field goal, so that made it 6-0 Jets. More punts, and then the Broncos went 11 plays, 87 yards, and Bo Nix connected with Courtland Sutton. Key play in that game was 3rd and 11 from the Broncos' 24, and Bo Nix connected with Courtland Sutton for 29 yards. Then there was a penalty, defensive pass interference on Michael Carter. Then there was another offsides penalty on the Jets. And like I said, on 3rd and 7 from the Jets' 8, Bo Nix connected with Courtland Sutton for an 8-yard touchdown. So that put the Broncos up 7-6. Then the Jets, they answered with a field goal drive. So Rodgers connects with Alan Lazard on this drive for a first down for 12 yards, and then he gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for flicking the ball and pointing his fingers down the field. Wasn't even looking at the Broncos guy. So that was a costly penalty. It's just some of these calls that the refs make. I know they gotta do that, but I mean, they don't let the players do anything. I mean, Jameson Williams did the old Jimmy Graham touchdown celebration where he dunked it on the goalpost. I mean, why can't you just let the players have fun? It just doesn't make sense. But I don't know. That's one of the things that I typically don't agree with is these unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. But yeah, so that ended up being costly because that put the Jets back. So they had to settle for yet another Greg Zuerlein field goal to make it 9-7. So then we go to the fourth quarter. Broncos answered with a field goal drive. They started running the football more, and that proved to be effective. A lot of Javonte Williams runs on that drive. They got to the Jets 29, and Will Lutz kicks a 47-yard field goal to put them up 10-9. Couple of punts. Jets turned it over on downs. Then the Broncos, they missed a 50-yard field goal with Lutz. And then the Jets go down the field, 9 plays to Breece Hall, then a defensive pass interference, and that set them up in good field position. They got up to the Broncos 32. Now, Rodgers tried to hit Garrett Wilson at one point late in the game. And if Garrett Wilson turns around and sees the ball, Rodgers hits him. And that would have been a huge play, but that ended up not happening. That was the second to last drive of the game for the Jets. But yeah, so they got to the Broncos 32. Zuerlein attempted a 50-yarder, and he ended up missing it. And the Jets ended up losing. So Bo Nix, he finished on the day 12 for 25 for 60 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. The Broncos ran the ball for 126 yards. Javonte Williams had 77 yards on the ground. Jaleel McLaughlin had 46 yards on the ground. The leading receiver was Courtland Sutton, 3 for 60 and a touchdown. Broncos defense, 5 sacks in this game. And then for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers went 24 of 42 for 225 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, their rushing stats, Braylon Allen, 8 carries for 34 yards. Breece Hall, 10 carries for 4 yards. Could not get anything going on the ground. Rodgers had 5 for 26. And actually got hurt in this game at one point. Mike Williams was their leading receiver, 4 receptions for 67 yards. Allen Lazard, 5 for 58. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 41. Tyler Conklin, 4 for 17. Garrett Wilson had a fumble in this game, like I said. No sacks by the Jets defense. And, yeah, the Greg Zuerlein field goal was a back burner at the end. But, yeah, not a good game. Offensive line could not protect Aaron Rodgers. And like I said, he got hurt in this game. He gets sacked, and, he came up limping. And you can't have that. The Jets have done a great job these first, 3 games before this one in protecting Rodgers. Even against the 49ers, I know they didn't play well. I know they got destroyed, but they protected Rodgers. Rodgers really didn't get hit in that game. This game, he got hit a lot. And that's concerning. That is really concerning. Because if that continues, well, you're going to see Tyrod Taylor sooner than later. And I don't want to see that. Also, the play calling. Play calling was not great. The fact that, you didn't try to establish the run, give the ball more to Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, that's a problem, especially in those weather conditions. The running game should play a factor. I mean, look at what Breece Hall did against the Patriots in Foxborough last year in the snow. He had 32 carries, I believe. Here he only had 10. Why are you not trying to establish the run? They kind of abandoned it. I got to give the Broncos defense credit because they've played great these last 2 weeks. I mean, the offense is still struggling, but despite that, they got a good defense. So I give the Broncos defense credit, but, the Jets, this was a game they should have won. Should have won this game. And a lot of people point to the head coach, and look, I have to admit, as much as I said I'm going to go towards the storm, go towards it and be optimistic about the Jets, I will acknowledge that this is that storm, and that's the coaching. That is what is ultimately going to hold them back. And the fact that the Jets had all this time off, you had a mini bye week between when they played the Patriots to now, and they came out like that, that falls at the head coach. Look, Rodgers didn't play well, and he acknowledged it. I know people are saying he didn't acknowledge that, but he said that he made some bad throws. But how is your team not prepared for this game? You had all that time off. And the other thing, too, is, so Robert Saleh, now he walked back these comments, but he talked about how they might have to dial back the cadences a little bit, because now Rodgers likes to get the defense to jump off sides, but instead you got the offensive linemen or just players in general in the Jets jumping and causing false starts. And Saleh said we got to dial it back. And Rodgers said in the press conference, well, that's one way to do it. But we got a subscription from Cooley Bands. So we appreciate the follow, the subscription. But anyways, so you had Rodgers say, that's one way to do it, but let's hold players accountable. So, of course, you're going to have people saying Rodgers is right. Then you got people saying, well, Rodgers shouldn't be saying that. I mean, Rodgers is right. It's what he does. The free play is one of his weapons. And if you want to dial that back, you're taking that away from him. So, yeah, it's not looking good right now. It's things like that where you're like, this season could definitely unravel. So I'm hoping that's not the case because I would like to see the Jets do well. And look, I don't think, even with Rodgers not playing great on Sunday, I still think, he's still got good football left. But the problem is you got a head coach who, is different from the other head coaches that he's been a part of. Because the previous two head coaches that Rodgers had, you won a Super Bowl with one, but you went to multiple NFC championship games with Mike McCarthy and, you went to multiple with Matt LaFleur in 2019 and 2020. Robert Saleh is unproven. And before Aaron Rodgers, Robert Saleh has a terrible record. And that record continues to get worse. And now you look at the Jets' schedule coming up. They got the Vikings in London, one of the two remaining undefeated teams. And then you got the Bills at home. And you still got no Hassan Reddick. Some of the guys that you let go on the defensive line, well, you kind of miss them. Who was on the Broncos defensive line on Sunday? John Franklin Myers, a guy that they let go to bring in Hassan Reddick. I think that was one of the reasons why they let him go. Or they traded him. Some of these under-the-radar guys that we didn't expect the Jets really to miss, they kind of miss them. So, yeah, it's not a good game for the Jets. And not on the same page with Garrett Wilson still. So it's a concern, and they could very easily go 2-4 if they lose these next two games. Or it's definitely possible to lose these next two games. I mean, obviously, yeah, if you lose the next two, you are 2-4. And then you take on Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football, I believe. You could be 2-5. Going up against TJ Watt, if this offensive line can't protect him. But, yeah, not a good game for the Jets. But let me know what you guys think about the game. What were your takeaways from it? Broncos improved to 2-2. Jets dropped to 2-2. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the chat, hit the super chat button if you want to put out a thought or comment that you want me to acknowledge during the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us. So as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will talk about the Washington Commanders. We're going to talk about their win over the Cardinals, 42-14. Talk about another stellar performance by Jaden Daniels and the Commanders team. And are they legit? Well, we'll talk about it when we come back. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.